What's up, guy folks? It is a very beautiful day where I'm at. I think that it's supposed to be a high of 110, which is almost intolerable for someone like me. I love the warmth, I love the heat, but only to a certain temperature. As black folks, we're tropical people, so you know, um, we love the warmth. 110 offensive or disrespectful. But I'm trying to stay cool. Hopefully everybody is staying hydrated. While we are handling our business, living life, and trying to incorporate play and fun in all things, as per usual, it seems as though there's always something or some things that's taking place, like the floods in Texas. And I don't really want to harp on that or talk too much about it. I know that there's a lot of intellectuals, great minds, and people that are paying attention that's talking about it, and it's much appreciated. The people that that cover certain things and share certain topics, especially the things that I am interested in, things that actually matter, specifically the things that are going on around us. I very much appreciate that. If someone was to ask me what I thought about, the floods that are taking place, because people have reported there to be floods that has happened in Texas, and then floods that are going on in other states. Me personally, I feel as though it is associated or has to do with weather manipulation. Before, I've heard certain individuals that also came online and shared certain content and videos saying the same thing. Everything is not, crazy man or crazy woman talk. Everything is not a conspiracy theory, especially when it's to be proven, and especially when the enemy plays in your face and tell you time and time again what they're doing, what he is doing, what it is doing. Because before they do it, they have to tell you, and they're going to tell you what they're doing so as to brag about it, or boast and brag. And when an individual is proud of something, they like to share that. So it's almost as to share or boast or brag or be in a celebratory way by not only letting you know what they're doing, but to continue to make it happen and to continue to celebrate what it is that they are proud of, that they are able to do. That's the way that the devil works, even if it means at the cost of others' lives or their demise. The ability to have certain powers and to feel like, I can do this, and so what you gonna do about it, and who you gonna tell? These are the type of demons and people that we're dealing with. So what do I think about it? What a lot of great minds think about it, or should I say what we already know. A lot of times we already think certain things, and we already know that certain things is factual, and we just be waiting for the facts. We be waiting for the confirmation, if you will. So there's a lot going on. Considering a lot that's going on and things that need to be addressed and what's going on in our communities, I made a video some months ago, probably either at the top of the year or at the end of last year, and I was talking about how I wish that people in our community would take the initiative to raise their kids more. And this isn't to say that a lot of black people don't raise their kids, because we raise our kids, but there is a lot of people that's slacking. There's a lot of people that's very neglectful. There are a lot of people that is way behind that 8 ball in a lot of ways. There's a lot of people that are subconsciously abandoning and neglecting their responsibilities. You know, with the whole social media thing, the TV thing, the phone thing. Let's put our kids in front of a device so that they can get out of my hair, so that I don't have to deal with it, so I don't have to address certain things. I actually was made aware of a drowning that took place near, it was actually near where I live, and there was a youngster that drowned, or a baby, I should say. I want to say between the ages of 5 and 10. And it really touched my heart because, you know, when people get to jumping up and down and they freaking out because they see somebody at the bottom of a pool that had been down there for a while and didn't come back up, you know, that's a problem. And it's really sad because at the end of the day, what is it? It's negligence. It's negligence on the parents' part, or the responsible party, whoever was responsible for that baby, you know? And then we have, by the way, I want to stop right here because I kind of just came into the video and just started talking. So I am making this video just wanting to speak freely. I wanted to speak what's on my chest, wanted to speak what's on my heart. I wanted to share my thoughts with you all. If you don't know who I am, my name is Queen Bree, and I write music. I do hip hop. Actually getting back into it. I have been writing since I was 14 years old, and that's pretty much what I like to do. I have a professional background, and yeah. So what I mostly like to share here in this space is my love for music, my love for hip hop, things that are related to hip hop, things that are related to the Black community, things that are happening in the world, things that are happening in the culture, and just really wanting to freely express myself about various topics, whatever comes to mind, whatever's on my heart, and really making it intentional to express myself in the most bona fide, in the most authentic way that I know how. And that's what I want to use this space for. And also to, you know, share my creativity, the things that I'm working on, you know, what I'm passionate about. And yeah, as I said, the things that are on my mind, or what may come up in my spirit and things. So in regards to, you know, the people in our community, you know, we talk about the youth a lot, and people point the finger at the youth a lot, and we talk about the troubles that some of them cause and the issues in the community with the kids, with the youngsters, with the babies, with the children. What's really sad to me, and what I actually find quite disturbing, is how there's a lot of people that don't raise their kids, you know, and then it's a problem because it starts to spill out in the community, and then the other children are affected by it, and then the other households are affected by it, and then the parents are affected by it. I actually came across a video the other day about some event that took place in Detroit, and there was these kids that went to some intersection, and they just started turning up in the worst way. They started jumping on top of a vehicle. They're probably getting zooted. They're probably getting intoxicated, maybe drinking. Who knows what? God knows what. Drinking, you know what. Indulging in whatever drugs, pills, smoking. You know what young people do, right? And they're carrying on. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that they actually set a car on fire. And they're jumping on top of a vehicle, damaging property, doing, you know, donuts, spinning out, burning out, and you know, when stuff like that happen, or even like on a you know, on a day-to-day level, when your kid goes to school and they have certain conflicts or issues with certain kids, and you hear about the stories that they tell you, and when you just hear about certain things, and it just makes you wonder, like, who raised these kids? Who are raising these kids? Is anyone raising these kids? You know? And it's just crazy because, you know, like I said, I tell my baby all the time, like, when you, no matter what you do or where you go, but especially when you leave this household, you need to remember that you represent me, you know? And you represent yourself because you are an individual, but you represent me. And, you know, we talk about the kids and we blame the kids and we harp on the kids, but, you know, it's like a lot of these grown folks need to be held accountable for their lack of parenting, for the disservice that they're not only doing to their children, but to other people in the community. And I'm just like, oh my God, we're such a beautiful people. We're such intelligent people. I know damn well we better than that. I know damn well we're better than a lot of the stuff that we see. You know, the kids that leave, they go to these parties, they go to these functions, and people don't know where their kids are, you know? And then they leave with their buddies or their friends, and they leave from point A together. They all end up at the same place or the same event, the same function, and then they don't come back with the same people that they left with. So it's like, you leave together, you come back together. Everybody needs to be accountable for each other, right? And then teaching the kids that not only do you need to be accountable for each other, watching each other, having each other's back, that's your brother, that's your sister, but then also watching their back as far as what they're consuming. Are you being accountable for your brother, your sister, your partner, your homegirl, your friend, your buddy? You know, being mindful of, are you drinking? What are you drinking? Are you supposed to be drinking? Are you indulging? Are you indulging in alcohol? If you are indulging in alcohol, do your parents know? 9 times out of 10, you know, speaking of these certain type of situations, they probably don't know. But are you being mindful of what you're drinking? Are you sharing with someone? Are you sharing drinks with someone? Is everybody drinking? Is everybody drinking from that drink? Is everybody putting their mouth on those drinks, right? It's almost like talking to, you know, youngsters. And really, you know, this is a message for them as well. You know, like, are you paying attention to what you're consuming and the drinks that you're consuming when you are, if you are drinking something or you're consuming something and you're indulging in, you know, having alcoholic beverages? Are you watching that? Are you watching the individuals that are around you that you say is your bros, that you say is your sister, that you say is your homegirl, that you say is your girl, that you say is your buddy, that you say is your partner? People are shady, and these youngsters are getting into so much stuff that is constantly breaking the hearts and of their moms and their families' hearts, because they are around people that they are not safe to be around. So considering that, it's like, are you being mindful of your drink and not putting your drink down and leaving it there? That when you put your drink down, that you leave it there if you walk away from it. Being mindful that it's not like when we were growing up, when I was growing up, and, you know, the people that helped to mold and raise me, it's not like when we were growing up where, you know, everybody's at the same party and then you go together to one place, and then, you know, everybody leave and everybody go back to the place where everybody met at. You leave together, then everybody come back together, you know? Everybody is accountable for, everybody is safe, everybody had a good night, everybody makes sure that everybody got home safe, that, you know, the kids aren't leaving in someone's vehicle and then someone is driving that shouldn't be driving, maybe even intoxicated. You know, it's the things that are happening every day that people aren't they're not telling their kids about. They're not giving them a pep talk or giving them a lecture. I know my baby be like, oh, mommy, here you go again. And I ask her, like, what does she think about that? Me always making everything out of a teaching moment. Everything is a teaching moment in my household. Everything is a teachable moment. I mean, why not? We live in a world that is a teachable moment. Students of life. Everything is a teachable moment. And I can't help but wonder if parents are they having these conversations with their children? Just sitting back, being the observer, watching everything that's going on, because it seems as though somebody is not, somebody is dropping the ball, or they're not doing their part. They're not raising their kids. So, they say that the most crime happen in impoverished areas or communities where, low income areas, people that are considered by in a tax bracket considered to be at the poverty level. It's just really unfortunate. And it's really sad, because I think that we keep having the same conversations and we keep talking about the same thing, and then we keep seeing the same thing. We keep seeing history repeat itself. But sometimes people can't help the circumstances that they're in at certain times. But, that's one thing, your circumstances, life happens, right? Life be lifing sometimes. But are people, loving their children and building emotional bonds with their children and making it safe for, for their children to approach them and have these conversations with them, to be open and honest, to tell them if something is wrong. There is a problem with the youth, and that, I believe that has been heavy on my mind, and it comes and goes. But there is a huge issue in our communities with the children, with the youth, and it's not anything that's new. But I feel like more people should shine light on it and address these things, to give attention to it, to let them know that, that they are on our minds. And how do we address the issues with children, the youth, the youngsters, putting their trust in individuals who they're told or taught or thought that they can trust, that they really can't trust, because they leave the house and they go with a so-called bros or sister, homegirl, homeboy, and something bad happens. They're not accountable for each other. They're not really looking out for each other. Or the mess, the insecurities, all of the things that create, these unfavorable, these tragic situations, whether they are committing violent acts against each other, or they so-called brother or sister is doing some shady stuff on the low, or even plotting and setting them up before anything even happened. Are parents having a conversation with their children about how to identify sketchy individuals, suspect individuals who swear that they are your bros or your sis, and behind the scenes they're plotting against you? They're causing division within the group and the circle of those who are your so-called and your so-called bros and your so-called sis. The people who you are supposed to trust will be the same ones that will plot on you. Your homeboy, your homegirl, your so-called buddy. Are we talking to our children about that? Are we making the executive decisions and taking the initiative to tell our kid, I trust in you to make wise and good decisions about who you're going to pick to have around you and who the company that you're going to keep. But based on what I have seen and what I have looked into and what you have told me, I'm going to make an executive decision and say no. It's going to be a no for me and a no for you. You're not allowed to have this certain individual in your company. You're not allowed to be around this certain individual, and literally putting your foot down. A lot of people are afraid of, oh, well, they're going to call this person and they're going to call that person and da-da-da-da-da. And the problem is, I don't know where people become fearful or scared to raise their children and to be a disciplinary where appropriate. We can love our kids into righteousness and to lead them and be on the right path, the right path. And we can love them and we can nurture them and we can have a good emotional bond with them. But there is a thin line between loving on the child and showing them affection and love and being that disciplinary to guide them and let them know that, hey, I'm not your friend first, that I'm your parent first, you know? And the interesting thing is, it seems as though like people are so fearful to raise their kids or to, like I said, put their foot down or to be a disciplinary, not an abuser, but to be a disciplinary when appropriate. And the thing is like they're scared of, you know, what other people might think or what they may say. And my thoughts on that is, if we raise our kids in the right way and we guide them and lead them on the right path, we can't control everything that they do, because once they leave our households and once they cross that threshold and leave our doors, I mean, even in the household, right? Even sometimes in the household, in their rooms, behind closed doors, whatever, right? But then when they leave our house, when they leave our households, sometimes it's just a different story. So it's like we hope and pray and we do the best that we can to try to guide and lead our children. But before the child makes it into the system, and before, you know, these other interventions happen where people are calling CPS on individuals because they might be abusers or whatever, or before the child goes to juvenile hall, or before law enforcement have to get involved, what are people doing at home to intervene and to be in their children's lives to prevent them from being a part of the system? A lot of times people talk about the system and people talk about the teachers and people talk about the authority figures and the authoritarians and all of the other people that are involved in shaping, molding, and helping to raise these children, because as they have always said, I love to say that it takes a village as it takes a village. What are the parents doing first and foremost in the household to prevent their child from becoming a part of the system, from becoming a statistic? If there's not a resource for a lot of things regarding adult substance abuse, whatever it is, the challenges that people face as adults, there are a lot of resources I know for children. So before the child gets to juvenile hall, before the child gets to the dean, before the child gets to detention, before the child has all of these issues, what are the parents doing to take a proactive approach to have leadership and a great influence on their child before anybody else's influence? My personal belief is that the parent should have a greater influence on their child than anybody else outside of them, outside of the parent. That's my personal belief. And as I said, it takes a village. So, you know, all community members involved, including like neighbors, buddies, friends, everyone. It takes a village. So the child will be influenced by other people. But when it comes to the household, it all starts in the household. And these poor babies are lost. They don't know whether they're going and they coming, and it's really sad to me, especially hearing about a baby that drowned over the weekend. Things that can be prevented, overdoses, young folks being roofied, the, you know, young folks being unalived, the violence that happens in the communities. I know people probably say a lot of what I'm saying has already been said, and it's still being said. And for the individuals that are shining light on that and they're addressing these things, I am absolutely in appreciation of it. I'm so appreciative of it. I'm glad that people are still talking about the youth, because there is a big problem in the young community of people. And then, you know, for me to have a youngster, for me to be raising a teenager, I'm also concerned in that way too, because my baby's friends are my babies in my mind. I have a host of nieces and nephews. I come from a big family. So naturally, I already have that natural nurturing and motherly spirit. And I naturally operate that way around the kids, around the children, and especially the children that comes to our home, or the children that are a part of my daughter's life, or even a total absolute stranger. I believe that if it takes a village, then that starts with us. So I guess I said all that to say, there's a lot more that I want to say, but I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I believe that the children and the youth, especially getting into the challenging years of a youngster's life, where they are transitioning from adolescence to teen and then on, I know that could be very hard, especially for the young folks that's under 18, the ones that's 18, 21, and on. I actually have a goddaughter that is 21. So I've been there. I've been there watching many kids in my family grow up. I mean, I have a nephew that is a lot older. I'll just say this. I have a nephew that is a lot older than a lot of these youngsters. So I've seen it, and I have a lot of, experience and knowledge with, the kids and the behaviors. And, as I said, just having a youngster, I truly believe that when it comes to the children, when it comes to the youth, that it is everybody's responsibility. We're talking about SMEX trafficking, people preying on the youth, on the young, taking advantage, and a lot of conversations that need to be had that parents are not having with their children. So that's all I wanted to say. And lastly, I'm going to say, this is not sending shots to anyone that is having struggles or difficulties with raising their children, because parenting is not an easy thing. But for the ones that are heavily involved, and that are involved in their children's lives, that have a relationship with their children, that prioritize their children, big ups to you and shout out to you, because that's a full-time job, and it's a constant job. It never stops. So hopefully more people will shine light on topics of the youth, and the concern for the youth, the big issues that need to be talked about more, and yeah. I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I hope you rock with the message. If you do, please make sure that you rock with me. Show your girl some love. Like the video, comment, let me know what you think about this. And yeah, you guys be safe. Take it easy.